I saw Markiplier's Iron Lung in Australia the first day it came out. Although I saw it at like 9:40, at like 9:40 p.m. So there were like two showings before that. So it wasn't like the first ever screening it came out in Australia, but it was the same day. And I've been sitting on it for a few days because I'm seeing all the reviews roll in going, I should make one. And then I dropped off YouTube for like 4 months because Christmas happened and my honours happened and I almost failed that and I was busy. And then there were the holiday videos that I really wish I'd finished or I could find a way to shorten down. I became so overwhelmed with all the little things I wanted to do on top of the honours that should have been like entire priority. So when I watched Iron Lung, I got home and was like, I really want to talk about that movie. And then I went, then I should get my camera out and I should make and then my brain goes off. I should make all the other things. I should finish. So I think I sat her up for a few days because I was going, well, no, I should just gather my thoughts on this movie and just say that and do that. But like, it took a day to pick up the camera. It took a day my brain takes so much effort with the ADHD to just like, I get an idea and then it takes like several days to do step by step to even get the idea started. It's very frustrating. But I've finally gathered my thoughts and written my notes, and the other YouTube stuff needs to wait because I'm now doing my masters. I passed, I barely passed, but I passed, and I've been given the opportunity to do the masters, so I'm doing it, and I bring that up because Markiplier's Iron Lung is pretty much the same attitude I have with, you gotta try. So, background, Markiplier is actually the reason I ever found out I had ADHD, because I may have told this story before, but I may have told it in the holiday videos I haven't finished yet, so I don't know if I've shared this already or not. But essentially, my partner watched Markiplier and noticed that his ADHD tendencies were the same kind of behaviors I had. And that's how I found out. She was like, you clearly have ADHD. And so I went and got checked and was proud to finally have an explanation for it. And that like Markiplier is only like 2 years older than me. Like I think he's 36 and I just turned 34. I think like I just had my birthday in December and I'm still like, what number am I at? I've actually lost track. Hang on, 2026. Yeah, no, but see, this is the problem. I'm born at the end of the year. So it's like I know my birth year, I know what year it is, and then I'm like, yes, no, but it's one less because I won't be that age until the end of this year. So what age did I just turn? Anyway, I'm flustering around even though I wrote notes. But yeah, Mark has ADHD. Mark is basically the same age as I am. So it's just inspiring to see anyone, let alone someone with his experience, do this. Because it's already a big enough deal that YouTuber make movie, but YouTuber with ADHD, finish movie and submit movie and good movie. Like, the amount of factors that go in where I'm like, oh geez, I've got all these projects but I'm struggling to finish it, and then if I do finish it, I'm not happy with it, and if it, and then I submit my honours and it's a bit of a mess because I got overloaded with information and ADHD, and Mark is on medication, I'm not, you can hear it in my brain, but just like when Mark always talks about how he pushes through and just tries to go that step further beyond, and that's how I was with the honours. Like effectively they're like, yeah, you passed, but like maybe reconsider the masters And I basically went, well, no, I was planning to do the Masters since I got here. And like, that's why I was doing they said that I had to do the honours in order to like qualify for the Masters. You can do the Masters, but for some reason they wanted me to do the honours first. And I say for some reason, I mean, there is good reason, because the honours practice, even though I didn't do well grade-wise, the practice in the honours has been such a great learning opportunity for the Masters that I'm very glad I did that. And that's what I was thinking. I'm like, no, yeah, I struggled. Of course I struggled. I have ADHD. Of course I struggled. But then I learned, let me apply the learning. I want to try again. So I was just very excited about trying and doing the next bit. And yeah, I couldn't, I was like, oh, but they've got a lot of good points about where I was struggling. And it was initially honours by research. And I was getting I had like 17 different readings, and my brain could not isolate or decide which one to read. So I just kept blocking up when I've got too many options at once. And that's where I'm doing creative now for the Masters. So I get to do storytelling, which is kind of what I wanted to get good at in the first place. Only I was afraid to fail. Like, if I wrote something creative and failed, that would be worse, because that's the thing I wanted to do. So I did something that I didn't care about as much, which then I didn't have the same drive with. So, yeah, I just went, no, I should just do the thing that I'm going to enjoy, and then I'll enjoy it, or it doesn't matter if I pass or fail. And that's the thing, Mark's attitude has always just been, you gotta try, you gotta do. Like, you don't want to waste that opportunity or that skill. So yeah, I've always just found that inspiring. Like when he's talking to Ethan about, doing more things after Unisarnus and how much he's capable of. Like, Mark wants to see not just himself but everyone do their best. Like, it's really that give it your all sort of thing. And yeah, I would say, like, yeah, I struggled with the honours, but I gave it my all. And there was no fibre of my being that went, yeah, oh well, I'm just not good at this. Because, like, yeah, but you learn and then you get good at it. Like, that's how everything works. So, yeah, hoping the Masters goes better. But, that's the thing. Even if it doesn't, I wanted to take the shot. And there is something about every time I watch Markiplier, I go, yeah, he's doing it. And yeah, like that's basically what an inspiration is, right? You see that other people are doing something and you go, well, I've got ADHD, I'm that age, what's stopping me from doing it? And like, obviously, money. The fact he's already got the subscribers and things, like, so he's got resources I don't, he's got medication I don't. But it's not about that competition of, oh, well, I couldn't possibly because I don't have and I don't have. It's like, well, all right, well, then I'll do it my way, not his way. So it's just about that. It's about looking at people doing things and going, oh, I want to do that, and then doing it. Yeah, I'm going around. That was meant to come later. So for background, I've seen all of Unisarnus. I've seen plenty of Markiplier's videos, although I didn't grow up with it. I got into it around the time I got diagnosed with ADHD. Like, I was introduced to it as an adult. And I really like his comedy. I really like his style. I really liked Unisarnus. Yeah, and I've also seen Heist with Markiplier and In Space with Markiplier. I feel like I went back and saw Date with Markiplier, but I don't fully remember if I did. Like, I'm fairly sure I did, but maybe there was one before that, like a Murder with Markiplier or something, and I don't think I've seen that one, because I see talks about Damien or whatever, and I have no idea what that's about. The thing I wanted to note with this film specifically is how different it is to Mark's usual things. And when I went into the film, I said to my partner beforehand, like, because I watched, so also background, I watched Mark play Iron Lung. I watched theory videos on Iron Lung, and beforehand I was like, I want to know what I'm getting into because I don't usually watch horror, so I wanted to be prepared in case it was really scary because I did actually trust that Mark knows what he's doing with horror intention, and like I know he is well versed in comedy and horror. And I knew this was more on the horror side, so I thoroughly assumed that the jokes were gonna be pretty absent and it was gonna be mostly like tense, scary stuff. So I think, like, in order to give myself some safety net, I wanted to know what was coming. And that did help because also in the movie there's a lot of ambiguity. And so there were certain times where I just went, oh yeah, you're right, in the game, yeah, cool. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing in terms of, I sort of wish I could do both. I almost wish in hindsight that I could watch it without that knowledge, then go get that knowledge. But yeah, that's the way I chose to enjoy the movie. I wanted to have some insider knowledge. So that's the framing with which I watched this. But I said to my partner beforehand, having watched Mark play the game, I don't know if there's much content here to make a film out of. So, as someone who studies storytelling and would like to say in ideal ways that I should be able to come up with something, like I should be able to look at that and go, here's what I'd do. And I drew a blank and said, I don't know how, like, you could do a little short film, a little atmospheric short film, but I just don't know how you turn this into a movie. And so the curious thing is that with Heist, In Space, and Unisarnus was more of a sketch thing, and In Space and Heist were more video gamey, which is weird because this is an adaptation of adaptation of a video game. But like it's an adaptation of a video game, but it's not a video game. In that In Space and Heist, you are the main character. The person is controlling what happens on screen. There are multiple choice buttons. So it's more about like the player controlling Mark and the story. And yeah, it's just got that different style to it where Mark is breaking the fourth wall because he's talking to the point of view character who is you. Whereas a movie, he's not talking directly to the camera. He's not acknowledging the camera because it's a narrative. It's a film. So it's a movie story, like experience cinematic thing. Whereas like Heist and In Space, I should not have been surprised by all of the great shots and creativity because like looking at In Space, the creativity's in droves. But I think it's because I was walking in going, the big challenge here will be, can he do the tension thing? Because he's mostly done the fourth wall comedy thing. Yeah, how's he gonna go when it's just a bubble of reality where it's a character in a narrative rather than Mark talking to the YouTube audience? And yeah, no, it's solid. It's a solid film. Yeah, but it's very different. Like that's the thing. It's a completely change of style, and I'm really impressed by how he didn't give in to I need to throw in jokes. He didn't try to turn it into a YouTube thing. He just committed to making the narrative. Yeah, it's good. So that's the background. Why this matters. This is the thing. I think no matter how this film went, the narrative behind it was always going to supersede the narrative in it, because like at the very minimum, it wasn't going to be in theaters at all, and then it got in theaters, and then all of Mark's fans went to see it. So, like that story in itself is probably just going to be the main thing remembered about it. Like it's a YouTuber underdog story, regardless of the result. But then, what's great about it is like there have been other indie films or other YouTuber films, even though my only frame of reference is really like the Nostalgia Critic movies, which aren't, like, let's be honest, they're not really movies. They're him and his friends out in the park or in a house filming on low-res cameras. Like, this is a cinematic film with cinematic shots that took a lot of time and effort to like plan out, and like you can tell there was a storyboard to this, whereas you get the sense in the Nostalgia Critic thing, it was their friends improvising and filming and throwing whatever they felt like on screen. And like, so there's usually, like with video game movies or superhero movies before it, there's just been such a precedent of, oh, a YouTuber made that, oh, it must be bad. And you look at this, and if you didn't know who Mark was, like, it is hard, as someone who's seen a lot of Mark's stuff, to sit down, see Mark on screen, and not instantly go, oh, it's Markiplier. Like, but you adjust, it's fine. But if you don't know who he is, I highly doubt, I mean, you might still watch this and go, well, that was a bit strange, what was that? What's going on? Why was that movie only in cinemas for a week? Like, there would be questions because most things are big IPs now, so where did this indie film come from? But at the end of the day, like, I highly doubt that if you watch this fresh with no information at all, you don't come out of it going, YouTuber must have made that. You come out going, wow, that was an interesting indie film. Who made this? What was going on here? So I feel like it's got that for it, right? Like it behaves like a real film. Whereas a lot of YouTuber films feel like a YouTuber film. There is something about them that just says, this is some friends filming on a camera at home, and not this person put in time and money and effort to make a film. Because there is a difference. I think this is what Mark was saying with In Space. He kept saying, I've already made a movie, and yet, like, I haven't been recognized as someone who's made a movie. And my argument to that has always been, like, it may be movie length, but it's not a movie, right? Because that's the thing, is someone can film a 2.5 hour thing and say, look at the movie my friends made, but it's not a movie. It doesn't have the cinematography of a film. It doesn't have the artistry or the thematics, or it's just people playing themselves, running around in very blatantly not cinematic costumes because it's so low budget. Whereas this, like, yeah, the set still looks like an indie set. Like, it's never gonna look like a Disney super high budget thing, but like, given what most IP films have been like eating themselves good, it's actually refreshing to just be like, we don't care about how big the budget was. We just want to see someone put passion into something they're doing, right? Like, you can just feel the entire time that even with the slow pace, Mark is present. The atmosphere is consistent, and you just go with it. You just ride the experience. It's not, oh no, general audience requirements, quick, put a big bombastic scene here, quick, put an action sequence. Like, it's not, this is what people talk about when they say, like, is it a roller coaster or is it cinema? Because a roller coaster is like, quick, they might get bored in 5 minutes. Throw noise at the screen. Make something happen. Whereas this movie goes, the thing that is happening is this person in their life having to wait out their own death because there's nowhere to go and nothing else to do. And that atmosphere, that immersion is there. This is cinema. This is art. It's not trying to distract you or just keep you busy so you don't notice that what's happening on screen is empty. It's actually letting it play out. So you have time to reflect and be immersed in it. Yeah, like it's okay with you if you wanna. It's perfectly comfortable letting you potentially be bored for a minute in order to serve a greater purpose of emotional impact. I talked about the Hollywood IP sync. Like investment in dreams, right? This is why right at this moment in time, Markiplier and Brandon Sanderson have been really inspiring, because not only are they both like, Brandon Sanderson is making big on books, Markiplier is doing big on films. They're both creators I really enjoy the work of, but on top of that, they're like, Brandon Sanderson's fighting Audible and Amazon, Markiplier's fighting Hollywood. Like, we're seeing these creators who are doing well because they're committing to their art and not because they're submitting to whatever cliches Hollywood thinks it needs to shell out the same drivel over and over again. Like, they're actually trying, and they care more about the art they're making than the superficial standards that most IP films feel they have to follow. Oh, but on top of that, they're also breaking records, right? So like Brandon Sanderson doing the Kickstarter thing, Mark doing the blood thing, and making its budget back so much. Like, again, these things are also inspiring, because it's like, it's one thing that someone made art they really like. It's another thing if they made art and it's good. It's another thing if they make art and it's good and it's getting recognized for it to the point of breaking records. And it's another thing if it's breaking records in the face of the big corporations that desperately wish it not to, because they care more about the business than the art. Like, that is just so fulfilling. Yeah, so let's get to the actual film. Thoughts thoughts on what was good. The cinematography, like, there are all the shots in this that I genuinely, as I was watching it, I went, how'd he do that? Like, there was, Mark's asked not to spoil stuff, but like, there was a sweeping transitional shot, and maybe it was just CGI, I'm not sure. Like, I can't tell, I can't be sure. It was just like this shot of it, whoa, hang on, no, how do you, it was just a really cool transition. As much as this movie sits with it, as much as it sits with the slow moments, it also has some really clever editing, so it can jump across time as it needs to. Like, there are moments early on where Simon's doing something and it'll just like cut, and suddenly he's standing in a completely different position, and like, it could be mistaken for a continuity error, but it makes it clear that he's just moved and time has passed, but he doesn't want to have to show every minute of the day, so it's cut to the next interesting bit. And it can be arguable on which scenes are less interesting bits that could have maybe been cut, but these to me are like nitpicks that I understand when you're editing. If you've made a movie for 2 to 3 years, and then you're editing it, and you're going through all of these variety of takes, and then you're picking what you think is good, and you finally cut it into something, and you're like, it's movie length, and then they say, we're not going to put it in cinemas, and then it gets put in cinemas, and then people are like, oh, you really should have cut 10 seconds off this bit. And you're like, yeah, I was so buried in the weeds, you can't tell anymore. You've just gone so deep into it that, like, yeah, there's little, like, pacing clunky bits, but, like, the overall package is perfectly solid. The music and the soundtrack. I often say that I don't notice the soundtrack. Like, people tend to go, oh, it was a really cool musical moment there, and I will go, oh, I didn't notice it. I was like, I'm immersed in the movie itself, so I just tend not to notice the music because it's not necessarily meant to be noticed. But I think there is something about like when I'm watching a indie film and I know that the music took budget, like every time the music goes off, I don't just go, oh, there's music in the scene. I go, oh, cool, he was able to afford someone who could do music this good. But I think also, like, again, I don't watch much horror. So if you've got music that's making me go, oh, then, like, your music is really doing something. And I do feel compelled to say that as much as it's sci-fi horror, I didn't find it, like, because I avoid horrors, but it's definitely more on that sci-fi horror than, like, pure horror. It's not trying to, like, dramatically scare you. It's just writing this really nice tension where, like, I was mentally terrified, but not physically terrified, if that makes sense. Like, you watch the reactions to people who watched Alien for the first time, they're like, ah! Like, it's not doing that, so I was able to, like, keep my composure, but at the same time, I was sitting there the entire time going, like, that, like, mental, like, the idea of this creature, the idea of going crazy on this ship, like, I would almost say, like, yeah, the emotional impact could be tweaked in terms of, like, you know, if you had a hindsight go again, there are definitely moments that could be, like, amped up, but on the, like, for philosophical scale, like, the way Arrival does the, you know, if these aliens existed kind of thing, on the theoretical side of things, it's really tense and really scary. Like, yeah, but it's more of an intellectual horror than an emotional horror, if that makes sense. But yeah, the soundtrack should win an award or something. That is, I'm definitely going to re-listen to that at some point. When I watched the film again, I was surprised that Mark managed to make an entire film's worth out of this. Because, like he managed to find enough things for Simon to do that I was like, oh yeah, okay, that's how you do it, cool. But at the same time, like, I afterwards was like, I like to say that really great stories are rewatchable, and it's a question of whether this would be rewatchable, because some of the things that I found, I'm still on the good section, hang on. But yeah, the soundtrack is just amazing, and as much as I'm itching to watch this movie again with subtitles, I am also itching to listen to the music. The big acting moments, like, again, when Mark usually excels at comedy, and because he does what I call the Jim Carrey thing or the Jerry Seinfeld thing, they're not necessarily, like, character range actors. Like, Mark has his characters, Jim Carrey has The Mask, and Count Olaf, and The Grinch, but, like, they're comedically heightened characters, and they don't necessarily do, I guess what I'd consider like the Johnny Depp thing, or like Heath Ledger as the Joker. Like, they're not necessarily, like, dramatic actors with a wide range of different character types, but you don't necessarily need that. It's just interesting to me that, like, Mark can do horror and comedy, and, like, by all means do one or the other or both, but it would be very interesting to me to see Mark do a comedy on the big screen, because I know he's really good at that. And it's then interesting to see how he went for pure horror, as in pure horror rather than comedy. So, like, there were few jokes in the film as far as I was concerned. There were definitely one or two, like, funny lines, but it wasn't like, haha, he's trying to make a joke to the audience here. Yeah, it just, yeah, where am I going? Yeah, the big acting moments, that's right. He, like, because I've seen, you know, especially in Renaissance, I saw Mark go and, like, practice with things, and so I saw that acting pay off in terms of, like, his acting has gotten very good. Again, when you're acting the entire thing on your own, there are going to be some takes that are a little bit clunkier than others, but I can't remember any clear line off the top of my head that made me go, ugh, that was a bad take. Like, it was just sort of like, maybe some lines I believe more than others kind of thing. But those moments where he had to get like really angry really come across, like it is visceral. And he's getting, it's one of those like, for a first attempt, this is top tier, like, acting skill. Like it you can see all the skill and potential there. It's like feeling like a backhanded compliment, but it's like, if you've never made a movie before and you're doing all these things at once, it's expected that there will be some gaps or some weaker parts that you can expand on with just more practice. And I'm very interested to see. Again, I would like to see Mark now do something with a bigger cast, because I assume him acting in it, directing it, writing it meant that he was able to hire less actors, deal with less schedules. So I'm sure those things were still there because he had some minor role actors, but for the most part, I'm sure it cut costs down. Whereas I would like to see what he does with writing a narrative where there are multiple characters, obviously outside of one set. Just to, that's his next challenge, I guess, is either do a comedy where you lean full into the Markiplier of it, or do another dramatic one, but do a dramatic one where you're now working with a more, I want to say more complex dynamic, but there were plenty of relationship back and forths with him and the person on the radio. It's just with the budget now, maybe you can afford to go, let's make a narrative where it's a character, maybe a character played by Mark and another character played by someone else who is in the film just as much as he is, or direct some other people, or write it and act in it. But I'm almost interested to see what happens if he does one of each of the bits, act in it but have someone else write it, someone else direct it, or write it but have someone else act in it and someone else direct it, or direct it but direct other actors and a different writer. I'm curious to see what different combinations come about if different people have different additions to the roles. But all the same, it's if Mark wants to do all of that again but challenge himself, I say expand the cast, expand the settings, and do something with, I guess, a more traditional narrative. Obviously take risks, because you don't just go the Hollywood formula route, but I think what I'm getting at is how Jim Carrey would do Liar Liar, The Mask, The Grinch, something like that. You can do Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, or The Truman Show, but then Mark could have a whole range of these films of just different, a comedy one, a horror one. In Space has a few musical numbers. He could do a musical, because I know he's been practicing at singing. There are so many ways he could go now that he's now got the proven track record to make something that they now willingly put into cinemas for a longer run. And now it's got the reputation that more people might, even more people than now might go see it. So, it's just really exciting to see someone take a risk and it pay off, and then go, and I know that they've got the skills to do so much more. But yeah, those big acting moments were really cool to see him do. The ambience and atmosphere, it's a movie where it's one guy stuck on a ship. If you don't nail the atmosphere, you've got nothing. And I would say the atmosphere is absolutely the best part of it. Whereas thoughts, the things that I didn't think were as good, I find like, I feel like if I really dissected it down, I'd find little tiny things here and there, just because when you're making something at this scale for the first time, even with the experience of the other stuff, they were completely different styles and genres. So there are just going to be little things here and there of, like, as you do more things, you're going to look back and, like Christopher Nolan's first film, I'm sure you'd look at and go, oh yeah, it's a bit rough in bits, but it's Christopher Nolan, you'll get there. And yeah, I'm comparing Markiplier to Brandon Sanderson and Christopher Nolan. But yeah, I would say the one thing I did find, like, actively lacking in the movie was the character stuff. Like, Mark's giving it his all. There's enough of a motivation that it's clear why this character is doing what they're doing, but the backstory itself needed more clarity, because if it's a movie full of ambiguity, if you've got ambiguity to the supernatural abstract stuff, but also ambiguity to the, like, seemingly human concrete stuff, then it's harder to get a grasp on the full emotional impact of what's happening to this character. Because you're also trying to figure out what they're about or what they're doing or why they're doing it, while you're trying to think about the bigger scope stuff. I think it should have just gone for ambiguity on the one, not the other. It should have let us fully into Simon's head. It should have kept no secrets about what he's dealing with, and leave the ambiguity to the big monster stuff. But that's my big thoughts on that. And obviously I would like to see Mark do this or that, obviously not all in the same movie. I just want to see him play around with it now. I desperately need to pee, but I don't want to have to edit this, so I'm going to finish up. Basically, I watched FNAF 2 a few weeks before seeing this, and the difference is night and day. Again, I don't tend to watch horror films, but I watched FNAF 2 and went, that wasn't only not scary, it wasn't even tense. Actually, so there were moments in that where I actually went, the freakiness of it was definitely more than the first movie, but, like, it was such a chaotic mess of sequences that, again, it felt like the just throw whatever recognizable IP thing we can on the screen. Whereas Mark actually went, what do I want this character and the audience to feel? And then just committed to that. So that's what I mean when I say FNAF 2 is basically a roller coaster that has no idea what it's trying to do. And Iron Lung, for all its, I guess I want to say, nitpick amateur factors, it's still cinema art. Go see this, because I mean your choices right now with this or Milano, just go see it.